Hello guys, meets with Rizc here, and today it's the final day of DreamHack Summer, and I'm standing here with Rizc, who have just casted the best of three, where it was Fnatic versus Models. So could you just tell us a little bit about your experience of the game? Like, what did you think about it?
I think it was actually really interesting because when the game started, we were of course discussing with the panel, as we always do before we go live on stream, like how this is going to play out, and everyone was pretty much saying, okay, surely each team are going to take their own map, and then we're going to get to Mirage, and it's going to be really close. But that was in fact not how it went down. Each team took each other's map, and then Mirage was just a whitewash for Fnatic. So it was a really, really nice game. But to be honest, a big surprise that Fnatic took it that easily in Mirage.
Do you think that the home soil and the Switch crowd had a big advantage to that Fnatic won and had such a crushing performance on the last map?
I think home crowds always give an advantage, but I wouldn't say it's a big one. I think it's like almost 2-3-5% maybe. But if it's those 2-3-5% that makes you that much better than the enemy, then that's great. But of course it's great, but I don't think it's a big advantage. They're still inside the booths and really hyper focused on the game.
And I think that this is your second time being at DreamHack.
Yeah.
What do you think of the event so far? The people here and the whole LAN experience? It's
always great. I've casted two of the DreamHacks here in Jönköping, and then a couple of the open stops all over the world. But the two that I've casted have been absolutely amazing. But I've been here as a fan once and as working other jobs here. So I've been here a couple of times now, and it's always great to go because you just feel where esports is coming from. Because DreamHacks were being arranged 10 years, 15 years ago, before esports was even existing, before back when Counter-Strike wasn't even a game. Yeah. So it's always great to come back to the roots here, and Jönköping is always a great place for that.
It's kind of like Copenhagen Games, but just a little bit bigger maybe. Actually, speaking of Denmark Copenhagen Games, we have Singularity here. They went out in group stage, but they had a pretty good performance.
Oh yeah.
And they were one of the up-and-coming Danish teams, and Danish CS right now is just so strong. Why do you think that it's so strong and so dominant in a way right now?
I think Danish CS has had a lot of years where the problem hasn't been the players or the quality of the players, it's been the teams and sticking together. And now I think we're finally at a point where organizations in Denmark are getting to a serious level where contracts are involved, so players aren't jumping teams every single month. So that's of course a big plus. And I think that's also the introduction of coaches, especially you can see that with the Thrallers in North, with Ruka and Sonic respectively helping out. And it's just making them just play better and perform to that maximum level. But in general, the Danish scene has a lot of talent. Right now, we're in a bit of a weird situation. Of course, we have Valde, we have A&J who are not in a team. There's a new rumor about a super team being formed with Danish players. So we have to wait a few months. But when everything falls to the ground and all the teams are set, I think in 2, 3, 4 months, the Danish series are going to be on top, and we're going to have 3 teams in the top 10 again.
And talking a little bit about North, they have an academy team right now. They have been performing pretty good. And ESL recently went out and say a rule which said that academy teams can play under the same organization. Yeah. Do you think that this is a problem for the younger generation to come up within the scene?
No, not at all really. I think it allows them to perform at different leagues than the bigger teams, and I think that's the way it is in all the other sports as well, because every football team has a under 19 and under 21 team, and I think it's just the way that it goes, because obviously none of the North Academy players can play on the real North team yet, but I see a player like Mertz, and I see in a year or two he's going to be able to play on the big North team, and that's what they have in mind, because with the way that contracts are being made right now and transfer fees are being made right around in CSGO, a player like Mertz right now is not going to cost you much, but in a year he might be worth $1 million. So it's also an economical choice to secure some of the talent. So you perhaps get 10 players over the course of a year, and if one of them just turns out to be great, then you made all your money back again.
Yeah. Speaking a little bit, actually going back to the event here, we had CLG here who've been performing pretty good.
Yeah.
They've had some strong performances against Fnatic, who's now in the final, obviously. Do you think that they can put up as well as keep up this form now in the future when they might come up against teams like FaZe or Astralis maybe?
Well, I think the main difference is that right now, of course, Rizc is getting into gear. It always takes some time for a new player, and all new players, as in CGL's case, to get into the team and really perform. Usually, in my mind, it takes between 1 and 3 months. That's a long time in CS. But also with the new coach, I think that's one of the biggest differences, because having a coach that can analyze both your games and your opponent's games and give that feedback crystal clear inside a game or just before and after a game, that's so important, especially for NA CS, which I think, and I think the rest of the scene agrees with me, is not as structured as European CS. If you have a coach that can bring that structure, then you're suddenly taking a team that could be maybe, I don't know, number 4 or 5 in the NA Pro League, and they could be number 2 or 3 instead.
Yeah. So now talking a little bit about the final, it's SK versus Fnatic. What are your predictions, and who do you think will win, and why?
Well, I think that SK are going to win, and I think pretty much everyone would agree. Usually that's the logical thing to say, but I think it's not going to be easy at all, because Fnatic were firing on all cylinders during that semi-final. So I'm thinking it's going to go to 3 maps, of course, and the third one, I could imagine it coming down to Cobblestone. If it does, I think SK has the upper hand. If it comes down to a different map, Vito, we'll have to see. But I'm pretty sure that Fnatic are not the favorites in this one. But if they get rolling, we saw how well they recuperated after the loss in the first map and just came back into the game in the semi-final. If they could do something like that, it can go extremely close.
That was actually my last question. Do you have anything to say to the audience who have been watching?
No, just thank you for watching, and of course support content like this. I know it's hard coming up as a content creator. I did it myself. I do it myself still. So just support this stuff. It's really nice that everyone can kind of get in and get questions in and get stuff done like this. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the interview, man. I'll put a link to your YouTube where he does content as well, and I'll put a link to his Twitter in the description. Go and follow him there, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.